So these are the measurements we are going to be working with to draft out our trouser pattern. We have a full length of 39 inches, knee length of 22 inches, hip length of 7 inches, hip circumference of 37 inches, thigh circumference of 23 inches, knee circumference of 17 inches, ankle circumference of 14 inches, crotch depth of 10 inches. Now, in order to get your front crotch extension formula, you calculate 15% of 1/4 of your hip, 15% of 1/4 of your hip for the front, then 45% of 1/4 of your hip for the back crotch extension. So that's my hip. I have my hip circumference to be 37 inches. So 37 divided by 4 is going to give me 1/4. It's going to give me 9.25. So 15% of 9.25 is going to give me 1.38. That's if I should... do not approximate, because after approximating you're going to get a little bit of an excess. And want to say, if you want to say, okay, it's just 0.1 inch, remember your fabric is going to be folded into 4. So 0.1 times 4 is going to add excess to your measurement. So after calculating 15% of 1/4 of your hip to get the front, if you do not want to calculate the 45% of 1/4 of your hip to get the back crotch extension formula, you can just go ahead to multiply what you got for the front by 3. Now, if you are going to make use of this formula, I still advise for you not to approximate, because just like here, I brought out this example for you to see. Now, this is the approximated answer. Multiplied by 3 is going to give us 4.14. Now, I see this 45% of 1/4 of my hip. It gave me 4.16. You can see it doesn't tally. The difference matters. Yes, it does. So now, in order to get a precise answer, what you do, after calculating 15% of 1/4 of your hip, we got 1.3875. So exactly the way your answer is, you're going to multiply it by 3 to get your back crotch extension for. Right before us here is our hip circumference divided by 2. In that case, this is 1/4 of our hip and this is 1/4 of our hip. So together, we're going to have half of our hip circumference. So this is going to be the front part of our trouser and this is going to be the back. From this is the start point. We'll go down by 1 inch. And then from this 1 inch that we measured, you move to the side and measure another 1 inch. I'm not going to be including that 1 inch for the dart for the front part. My dart is going to be at the back alone. So if at all you're going to include your dart measurement, you're going to include 1 inch to your waist circumference divided by 4. My waist circumference is 29, divided by 4 is 7.25. So you're going to take from this point, this 1 inch point, you mark out 7.25. First, and then connect your meter rule. When that is done, you take your length, a crotch depth is 10 inches, the hip length 7 inches, your knee length 22 inches. For the full length, we're going to work with whatever we have at the end of our fabric. Now you go to the end and mark out the same thing. 7, 10, 22. Now these are hip length, a crotch depth, and your knee length, then a full length. Now remember, we calculated a front extension formula to be 1.38. What we're going to do, from this crotch depth that we have, you extend your measurements by what we have for the front crotch extension, which is 1.38. When that is done, after extending the line, After extending your line 45 degrees at this perpendicular line, I'm going to go up by 0.5 inch in order to get a curve, a crotch curve. When that is done, you go on with your curve to curve out your crotch to meet this 1 inch point here. So your front crotch, it's that easy. So you go on with your hip curve to connect it to your knee. Right here, I'm going to go in by 1.2 inches on your knee, and whatever you do here, you make sure you do same to the full length. So we have 1.2 inch here, 1.2. Remember, right here we have a hip circumference divided by 4, so you're not measuring. There's no need to measure out your hip. All you need to do is just curve it out. Here we have a hip, you connect it to this point, and with my waist to the hip. So that's the front part of our trouser. Now I will mark here as point A, here as point B. So at point B, you are going to go in towards point A by 1 inch, and then go up by another 1 inch. This is giving me exactly what I want right here. So from this point, you are going to measure out your waist circumference, divide by 4. I said I'm going to put my dart at the back, so here I'm going to include 1 inch to my waist circumference divided by 4. So my waist circumference divided by 4 is going to give me 7.25. Next I'm going to have 8.25. You know, after sewing, you're going to have the curve required at that point when the 1 inch for the dart is being taken out. I'm going to draft our dart later. Now to get the back crotch, we're going to extend by what we got. For the back crotch extension, from our formula we got 4.16. 4.16, somewhere around here. Remember, the back part of your trouser is usually bigger than the front, because that's where the allowance is, and your trouser at the back occupies more space than the front. So here we have a 4.16. You extend your line. Then go out by 1/3. And from this point, you go up by 1 inch. That's from your hip length. You go up by 1 inch. This is just a guide for the curve. When that is done, you pick up your curve and make the necessary connections. After making that curve, we're going to go out by 3/4 of an inch on the knee and on the full length. And connect with your straight mitaro. Before making out your curve. We are almost done. Now we are going to go in by 0.5 inch from the knee line. 0.5. Do the same at the full length and connect. So this is one method of trouser pattern drafts I'm going to teach you. This it's now time to draft out our darts. Now you measure out what you have here. You have 8.25. You're going to divide it by 2. And mark it out as midpoint. Then you go down by I want my dart length to be about 3 inches. At the sides, I'm going to take out 0.5 inches and then connect. So there you have it. Note that allowances were not added to this particular pattern. So after cutting it out, you can go ahead to include 0.5 inch allowance all along